I'm Brett Austin. I'm one of the co-owners of the Dick Brothers Brewery complex here. So we're standing in the Stockhouse lobby right now, and this is one of the oldest buildings in the brewery complex. It dates back to 1857 and was where they stored a lot of the raw materials for the brewery process. And eventually this building was added onto and became part of the racking house too, which is where they made barrels and fixed wagons and did a lot of the wood side of the equation of the brewery process. So this is actually where we start the brewery tour. We usually go down into the tunnels right here, and we do tours during our special events. But we're also thinking about maybe opening up during this time, since we're not having any of the larger events going on, that we could do some private brewery tours as soon as we get the go-ahead for groups of 10 or less. So that might be something that we're going to announce here pretty soon, and we'd love to take people through those tunnel tours. Just some of the history of this part right here is that the Dick Brothers Brewery started in 1857. The brothers were actually not brewery people. They were merchants, and they didn't even intend to start a brewery. But there was some things that happened along the way that led them to this, most of which had to do with the value of getting this land was pretty cheap, and then things that they discovered along the way that the land had on it. But we're going to save that for the tour and not give that away right now, so that you'll come and enjoy that with us and discover it together. We're also going to take a minute and go into the museum and do a couple other areas of the brewery that we've been working on. We're actually building out what's called a rat's color bar, which is an old German word for the council bar or the county bar, where the men of the day back in Germany used to gather, sort of the meeting after the meeting. But we're hoping to have that bar open Oktoberfest. And of course, right now as we sit here, we're also hoping to have an Oktoberfest in general, but I think we'll get there, and we'll be able to do that in a manner that works for everyone. So we can walk into the museum a little bit here in a minute. But a couple of pictures here on the wall. Really like these. There you can see this would be early 1900s, before they went to truck delivery vehicles, all the horses and wagons, and they kept those in stables here. This brewery in 1870s, 1880s, and 1890s was bigger than Anheuser-Busch in St. Louis. And then you can see all the buildings there. That would be probably 1903, 1904, depending on when those buildings were built. And then
we're in this building.
Yeah, we're in the building that looks like the front of the Alamo right here. We call it the Alamo building right there.
Yeah.
And all those buildings are still standing, all 5 of those buildings. And then this picture over here is really one of my favorites that we talk about on the tour. It's one of the earliest pictures we have, and it's probably about 1861, 1862. The house that's in the middle there that's kind of light colored is still standing on the corner over there, and you can see the Lutheran church, which was sort of the brewery church, and they had a school, they had a parsonage, they had dormitory style housing where when German immigrants came over, they would work here and live in that housing, and then eventually go on and have their own land. And right here, you can see the difference in age. This is the building we're in with none of the other buildings around it, and you can see how different the land was around here. This was a big swampy area. This area of town back in the day was affectionately called Calf Town, which related to a bunch of livestock being kept in front yards of the German immigrant kind of village area. We call it the historic German district, but Calf Town does ring true for a lot of Quincy people still.
I'm going to walk over here and show where the tunnel tours go. We are not going to go down there today. We do not get cell phone reception in tunnels.
Yeah.
But I do highly recommend, when we're able to open that back up, going for a tour, because it is really educational and neat and amazing to think what they did prior to, power tools and big trucks and all of those things.
And definitely.
Before we leave this room, do you want to talk about this, the construction?
Yeah, sure. So you can see, like, up here, these 2 walls are so close together, which wouldn't be a normal thing in a warehouse building. We've done some research on that over the time. In the building, and we'll see that in the museum, there's iron posts and beams, which wouldn't have been in an 1857 building. So we know by the difference in the floor pocket levels here and that the floors were at different levels at one time. So they completely gutted and reconfigured the inside of the building, probably just based on matching up to the buildings that they were building around it, but also definitely for weight components. And then just as they got busier, that they had better distribution of weight and could keep more materials inside the building.
Great. We're going to go on in the museum now. Sorry, guys, I'm still not great at not bobbling going into stairs, so we'll do our best. And this was built out just a couple years ago.
Right. So we had this ready for Oktoberfest of 2018. We got done right before that, and this is the museum room. My partner in the buildings, Mark Krogman, really this was his just labor of love. He has the majority of the collection that we'll see. He's just even collecting new stuff. We just got some new stuff in this week that he brought in, some stuff that nobody's ever really seen. So we're excited to show that off in the future. But we also use this as an event space. We have the upstairs event space and then this event space. And this is comfortable for about 75 to 80 people max. And we have a little stage and a bar here. So we've had some really nice events down here that are a little bit smaller. And we've got some pictures and some stuff down here that is pretty rare. This picture here is one of the later pictures that we have. It dates to 1946. I've had relatives of both Rome Brecht and John Breitstadt that have come through and have said, that's my great uncle or that's my great grandfather. This is over in the brew house building, and you can see that it was probably a staged picture, obviously, but definitely checking the chemistry of the beer back in the day in 1946. This had just been a few years before they ended up closing. Post World War II, they tried to get back in business a little bit after Prohibition and after World War II, but just a few years after this, they ended up closing for good.
And if you have any questions as we're going along, guys, please do ask. Brett is quite knowledgeable about all things Quincy.
So in here we have 11 cases total. We've kind of divided it up into sort of what we call the smalls and the flats, which is a lot of the paperwork. We have a bunch of the labels. We have some letters that were written back and forth between the owners, stock certificates. We have these tax labels, which some are pre-prohibition, that were stock certificates, but then after Prohibition, we have these tax labels. Yeah, those are pretty cool. The Dick's Digest, that's one of the more common items that we see. A lot of families held on to those. There's 24 volumes total, and what it was it was an advertising cooperation. Their printers did these, and then they would make them specific to the business that ordered them. But it gave news of the day all through World War II. So it's like a journal inside where it kept everybody up to date on what was going on all over the world in World War II.
Very cool. Some more advertising pieces here.
Yeah, there's some really unique stuff there because, like I said, my partner Mark has been digging. This is one of our older things right here, this barrel right here. So that'd be what would be given to a bar in the 1880s,
wow.
Late 1870s. So they would have to tap that, and we have one with the tap still in it. But that's how they served beer back in the day.
Maybe talk about the tax stamps, because this is pretty interesting too.
Yeah. So these smaller ones up here are tax stamps. So post-prohibition, so 1933 and after, the federal government started taxing all malt liquor. Previously, they had only taxed spirits, higher concentration alcohol, but now they were taxing all malt liquor. And so the brewery here had to get these tax stamps on the barrels before they would go out. And that was we talk about that on the tour, but that was one of the downfalls of the Dick Brothers Brewery is they didn't have a live-in tax agent like a lot of big city breweries did. So they they were forced to kind of work within a system that didn't help them a lot. Yeah, just different kegs and things. We'll walk over here real quick. I wanted to show the one piece that we recently got here.
This is pretty neat, guys. No one's seen it yet.
Yeah, this is our first. We just got this one in. There's a couple things in this case, but this was part of the advertising at the very end of the Dick Brothers.
Some light on it.
So they went with this advertising campaign. It's so bad that it's cool at this point, right? So Dick Brothers Beer, the beer that makes you sing. And
Can you put it back in the light just a little bit?
Yeah, they changed their color scheme and everything to this purple, orange, and green debacle after being blue and gold and red forever.
I like the debacle.
Yeah.
There you can see the color a little better.
So so that was a promotional piece that they would put at bars or maybe even give out to other people. But yeah, I've never seen one of those before. It just came up. My partner Mark found it at probably an auction or just online. We've gotten to the point now where people start calling us about, hey, what is this? And could I sell it to you or could I loan it to you? This is one of the other really cool ones right here. This is a silver watch fob, and there aren't too many of these, and they go back. And I know that they were given out to employees for years of service, and then also owned by the owners. And I'm sure there's more of them that were given out over the time.
And there are big blow-ups of these on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, those are unique. They're their Shakespeare scenes and quotes, and they were promotional items given out. I have never quite understood the link between Shakespeare and Dick Brothers Beer, but
wait, is it Shakespeare?
Yeah,
That's what it is. Shakespeare.
And so it was another promotional way for bars to get something out in people's hands with their logo on it. And this sign right up here, the Drink Nero sign, at the top of the case is an example of what beverage, they couldn't call it beer, but what beverage they were making during Prohibition. Nero was just a play on the words. Everyone's probably heard of near beer, which is nearly beer, which meant it was under the 3.2% alcohol limit during Prohibition. They couldn't go 0% alcohol because a lot of cleaning agents and some medicines had a component of alcohol in it back then. So they picked a level where those products could still exist, but not anything that could get you really drunk. So kind of a modern day O'Doul's, but they had a very good line of that and sold a lot of that during Prohibition because they were able to make the taste right, which was not something that was easy to do back then.
Another keg there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, over here actually is one that you can see the tap and the vent.
Oh, yeah.
So those were the taps of the day. And then you can see where they had the vent at the top.
Get a little close up of that. That's really neat.
Yeah, those being in such good shape and the words and everything. Yeah, so that's what back of the bar would look like in 1870s, 1880s. And all the different trays. The one up in the top in the middle there is that that advertising campaign. We have some shirts we wear on the tours because it's just so funny. It's kind of their last ditch advertising effort. And so the beer that makes you sing, the high note in brewing, the delivery drivers used to wear shirts, and on the front patch it said "Your singing teacher." So just, really, really. A horrible stab at last ditch advertising, but now it's kind of kitschy cool after all these years.
With this one here, can you talk about how big this complex is? Because I think people maybe drive past it and think it's just this one building, but it was quite a big complex.
Yeah, this is a really famous artist rendition of what the brewery looked like at the time and also could look like. So it's a really great picture because it's on the dividing line of when the Bottle House building was being planned and built. And the Bottle House building is the major building to the right and down. They didn't actually end up building the Bottle House like that. So this is about a 1906 to 1907 what the brewery could look like, the existing buildings that are there. There were 22 buildings that we have records of, and 16 of them are still standing, which is great in of itself.
Yeah.
There's that slogan there.
Now we're seeing it everywhere.
Yeah, it is a little more common to find those items because they were much later on.
Right.
Sort of the family picture there. We have a blow up top that's a little bit clearer, but you've got Frank Dick, Albert Dick, Ernie Dick, and Manny Dick is the really tall guy. It's hard to see in the picture sometimes, but if you look at that, see the guy that's standing on the step with him would be his uncle Frank. And look how tall Manny is. He's as tall, one step down, he's as tall as all the guys. He's about 6'4", 6'5". He was a really big dude, especially for that time.
And we skipped over. Let's go back to this first case because I do want to show the bottles. Coming back. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, so we got about every style of bottles. We're still missing a couple here and there that are out there, but we've got so from the top down is sort of the age, and then right in here in this area here we have two that are capped with beer still in them. Mark and I have jokingly said that we're going to crack those open one day and take a swig, but we're not sure that might start the zombie holocaust. So
no, we don't need another crisis right now.
No more talk of pandemics. Those mugs are some of the oldest things that we have right there.
Those are cool.
Yeah, those are back.
And then some more advertising pieces. This is kind of my favorite thing
So they gave these out to bars, and they would put them on the back bar on the shelf, and it was just a reminder to drink Dick's beer. I'm sure back in the day it was just the same as a bar today. I'm sure there was some eager guy out there that would try to consume that much beer out of that mug and maybe got a prize for it.
And here's some neat little advertising here. Those are light bulbs.
Yeah, they gave those.
Check that out.
So a lot of the back bars would just have screw-in light bulbs. You still see those all over Quincy, and some of them have been retrofitted to modern electricity. But you would screw these in, and they would light up and just remind customers to drink Dick's beer.
Okay, cool.
You want to go see the Rathskeller in the state?
Yeah.
All right. We haven't shown too many.
This is coming soon, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll, on the real fast on the wagon while we're here.
Yeah, so we picked this up at an auction that was when Don Weibring passed away.
Oh.
He had this in his collection. He had a lot of Dick Brothers stuff that we ended up with. I'd like to say that Don would be happy that we had it, Donnie, but if he knew it was here, he would probably try to outbid me and get it back because that was just the person he was. But he was a very interesting dude and somebody that I got to know over the years. I hope he would think that it was great that it was here. We actually don't know if it was an exact brewery wagon. It wasn't painted like this when we got it. We did a lot of research, but we definitely know it's the right style wagon and the right time. And part of that is right here on this little medallion. You can see this. Yeah. This is the Koenig and Lures Wagon Company, which is King and Lion in German. And you can see Quincy, Illinois, and Kansas City, Missouri. This building is where Barnard Elevator is right now over on 6th Street. That's where they were located.
Very cool. All right, the coming soon Rathskeller.
Yeah. A son of a architect, a friend of mine, did that little rendition for us just so we could have something up. And so we put that up. We keep this up right now. So yeah, coming into here, just watch your steps.
And remember, if you guys have any questions, please do ask while we're at it here.
So we just put the floor in the bar. It's going to be, like I said, it's a Rathskeller bar. Rat in German stands for council or county, and cellar, basically. So this would be kind of a play on the bar that would be in the cellar level of the county courthouse or city council building, and then it became more widespread. And some of the most famous and oldest bars in Germany are the Rathskeller bars, and there's a whole community of them in the United States too that play, back to looking at the German history of the United States. So we intend it to just be an event space at first, but we do think we'll get to the point where we have an open and running bar. Again, assuming that bars can be open and running again soon, and we know they will be. So yes, we put in some bathrooms. We got a little kitchenette. I know it's a little rough right now, and then the bar will actually sit right here. We'll start right here.
Oh, we lost her. Yep, there we go.
Be about 32 feet long, just going throughout that. And the way we made the entrance was interesting because there wasn't a door there. It was a window. That was a
I'm losing my Wi-Fi a little bit, so we're going to go back into just a little bit before we go about, someone asked about the style of beer and how it was made here,
Sure.
and someone else asked, so why were there tunnels?
Okay, so I'm not going to give away the whole tunnel tour, but I'll answer that one first. The tunnels are basically to hold the beer. It was the methodology of refrigeration back then. Also, it gave them a great storage area that was out of the elements. And they did somewhat use the tunnels for just interconnectivity between the buildings. So I'm not going to give too much more away on that, but
how much, how long are the tunnels that are existing that we know of?
we know we have at least about a half a mile now uncovered, and we know there's probably maybe 30% left to go that we could uncover. We're just worried about getting into some of the other areas if they're stable enough that we can be. We've just been really fortunate with that they've just held up so well, and they were built so well from the start.
Jack wants to know the estimated opening of Rathskeller. Hopefully Oktoberfest, right?
Yeah, that Oktoberfest weekend would be our goal right now. It was going to be this spring to have events and kind of get used to the bar, but I think given the situation that we're all in right now, we're just going to take our time, do the best we can to get it ready, and then be ready to go on that. We're going to have the beer tasting in that area of the craft beer tasting.
Bill wants to know if it's too early to have a beer.
It's never too early to have a beer. And if you want to come down, we'll stand 6 feet apart from each other and hoist one up right now, actually. You can drink one of the old ones with me if you're game.
And then what, oh my gosh, what type of beer did they brew here? That was
so their biggest was a Pilsner style beer, which we talk about this on the tunnel tour. A lot of the words that we use today almost connotate flavors for people, like lager, Pilsner, Bock beer. Bock is actually, like a German word for dark beer, but Pilsner and lager are lager is a process, and Pilsner is actually an area of Germany. But those were the types of beers that they became known for, especially the lager beer and the Pilsner beer. Pilsner being a lighter, kind of more crisp beer, and lager being sort of more what you think about as a traditional German beer, being a little bit heavier in alcohol content. And they had, by all measures back in the day, they had really good beer. It wasn't just that it was biggest brewery in town. They actually made really good beer.
Right on. Anybody else questions? I think everybody's pretty excited about this. One more time. So if people, once things get open, and the first thing that we'll probably have is small group openings, how could they contact to have a private tour of the tunnels?
Okay, so right now we thought we'd use this gap time as best we could. It's pretty exciting for us. We're revamping our whole website. If you want to look right now on the tunnel tour side, you can go to dickbrothersbrewery.com. Our new website's not up yet. But dickbrothersbrewery.com is still the website name, and you can get in touch with us through that. But in the next coming weeks, we're going to have a totally revamped website. So it'll have better calendar schedule, and you can schedule events through that. We'll have a new number and email that you can contact. We're just trying to bring all that stuff together and make it more user-friendly. But if you want to do it right now, dickbrothersbrewery.com. We would entertain the idea of doing maybe a tour of 10 or less when we can here in the next maybe month, hopefully, and maybe doing 1 or 2 of those on a Saturday. And then look for our new website too, because it's going to have some interesting stuff. We're going to have a better merchandise store. I'm flying the flag today a little bit. This is the Vienna style shirt. We got hats and shirts. Everything we sell, 100% of the profits goes back to making sure that we keep the tunnels up. We're working with all local vendors. We've worked with Landmarks and Christine's and all that to get the product. We've got koozies, hats, all kinds of stuff.
And some of that's available at the History Museum, am I right?
Yeah. Well, it's not available at the History Museum. It's available For Home and Hearth.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we we like to get the product out there, and when you buy something from us, you're supporting us keeping the tunnels up and the tour and all the museum stuff.
Well, if that is all the questions, guys, I'm going to say a big thank you to Mr. Brett Austin for taking us through. Highly recommend the tunnel tours. I actually trained to take people through the tunnels, and every time I go down there, I see something new or learn something new, and it's a heck of a part of Quincy's German tradition. So thank you for doing this today. If you have more questions, stick them in the comments, and Brett can message you back, and Brett or Joy, and hope you join us again for another Historic Tour Tuesday, next Tuesday, for the Quincy Museum.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe out there.